Hi, I'm Amitav Virmani. I'm the founder and CEO of the Education Alliance. We're a nonprofit that's been working in the sector for the last 9.5 years. We largely work with state education departments across India. For those of you working in the social sector, you know exactly how difficult it is to raise money. It's the money that we are able to raise that helps define us. It's also the money that helps us become successful and grow and forge partnerships and allows us to do the work we do. Today, we're in conversation with a very important funder for the Education Alliance, the Aisha Motor Group. They have been a long-standing supporter of the Education Alliance. We're in conversation with the Managing Director, Siddhartha Lal. Joined by me are my colleagues Kanchan, Dhruv, and Adi. And I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Siddharth to this conversation. Hopefully, over the next 30 to 40 minutes, we'll get to hear from Siddharth about his life story, about some of the principles that have led him to become the successful leader he is in his sector. And we hope that you can learn from some of this and apply it to the social sector and to the work that you all do. So let's get started. So Siddharth, I'm very keen to hear a little bit about your life story and a little bit about you before we get into a more involved conversation.
Yeah, sure. Amitav, thank you for having me here. I've actually just recently turned 50.
Congratulations.
And 4 days ago, on the 1st of November, I finished 25 years at Aisha Royal Enfield.
Wow.
So for me also, this is an interesting time because it's a big change moment. I don't really care about milestones that much, but I've taken this opportunity to reflect a little bit and to see what I'm doing, where I'm going, how I'm doing things. And I think that was always a hallmark of how I shaped my career and my work from day one, which is with a lot of thought and planning beforehand, rather than dive into things. Even though I look like someone who just jumps straight into the deep end, which I do as well. Mm-hmm. So I've got a bit of a split personality there, but that's been one of the traits that I've had, which is that I do not go with the default. I always go with what I've really thought through as the right approach, the right way. Goes back with the business that, Royal Enfield, I'm wearing the Bullet 350. That's the bike that is iconic. That's the motorcycle that kept Royal Enfield together. In fact, when I joined Royal Enfield in India, people didn't know the Enfield name that well. It was known as Bullet. The company was also known as Bullet, right? Correct. So they said, "Acha, you're working for Bullet Company." Right. So that was how it worked in those days. And the background of what happened in those days was that when the Japanese came in to the Indian market, as they had to the American and European market before that, they absolutely decimated the local industry. Decimated. So whatever motorcycle industry there was, the Japanese were so far ahead in quality and cost and technology, decimated. I mean, that's what happened. All of the European motorcycle industry just vanished overnight, right? In a decade, sorry. And so that's what happened in India. When they came in the 80s with joint ventures, the Japanese came in. All the local manufacturers, Enfield included, there was Java, there was Rajdoot, if you remember, there was all sorts of other smaller chaps. There were some Scooters India, all sorts of, all decimated, like on one fat swoop. So Royal Enfield was in the same shape, basically cheaper, more fuel efficient, better quality motorcycles, all, in there. So we had a company that morale was down, it was making huge losses, it had lost all the market, and, that was it. Now, what do you do? And that's when we took series of decisions, and I think it was all about learning, understanding, and seeing what your alternatives are, and taking the alternatives, not the easiest ones, not the toughest ones. That's not the point. It's the ones that give you a shot to success, right? There's some paths, like in our case in those days, one of the paths would have been, let's follow where the Japanese are. Like, let's go to 100cc bikes, right? Because they're all making 100cc bikes. And by the way, that's what conventional wisdom told us at that time. They said, guys, 99.9% of the market is
Is buying
100cc.
100cc. Yeah.
So
Follow the leader.
you should make 100cc.
Right.
Now, I said, bloody hell, these guys, they have the tech, they have the manufacturing, they have the cost,
can't
they have
beat
the
them.
distribution, they have the brand, they have everything.
Yeah.
How can I beat them in their game?
Correct. Right.
There is no chance.
Yeah.
But can I possibly, is there an outside chance that I can grow a market for bigger bikes? I said, yes.
Yeah.
That's an outside chance that we can pull it off. But can I pull off competing directly against them? Absolutely not.
can't.
So we decided not to go there.
So change the game.
Change the game. And our ambitions honestly were very small in those days. Our ambitions were just to get to profitability, just to be sustainable as a business.
Stay afloat.
That was it, to stay afloat. So it was that counterintuitive thinking to say, look, what is a shot at success as opposed to saying, where's the market today and all of that. So that's where we followed, and everything else sort of emanated from that kind of discussion. Yeah.
I have a friend in Bombay. He owns a Royal Enfield dealership. And he often tells me that for people that come and buy a bike there, for them it's a watershed moment. They save money. The middle class, the lower middle class, everyone saves money, goes and buys that bike, and for them it's a watershed moment. And I think what that tells me about the brand is that it's one of those brands that now people aspire to want to own and want to ride. It synonymizes, it's just being cool in that some sense. So
of course.
I think what I'd love to understand is that organizations that do well are generally organizations that pivot smartly when they need to in side of adversity, or pivot to make sure that they stay afloat when they are struggling with a particular situation. And I think Royal Enfield in some ways pivoted or didn't pivot. I would love to hear your journey from what you did, right? I mean, going from bankruptcy to an 80,000 crore turnover, there would have definitely been concerns. There would have been, what are those 2 or 3 things that really led to this turnaround of sorts? And I'm sure it was over a period of time, but...
No, it's good that you started with your friend who has a store, and what's happened to that is that I told you about the first part, about addressing the minuscule market, but also knowing that the bigger bike market potentially has more margins, potentially has more passion, right? So we chose that segment as opposed to the 100cc hardcore commuter segment. And more than a pivot, it was, again, I would say, in fact, one of our rules was that if everyone is going this way, we go the other way, right? Our default is opposite of what the other guys do, not what the other guys do, right?
That's scary, right?
It's not, it's brilliant. I mean, I think for me it worked because if you're a minion and you're fighting against the big boys, and look, these guys were big boys in India, but now look at these guys' might outside of India. They're global players with global capabilities. How do you beat them, right? It's impossible to beat them at their game, right? So what we understood, and what was intrinsic also, some things come naturally to me, to our team. What was intrinsic, what came naturally was the fact that we've got to be a consumer-led company, brand-led company. And that's not making fancy ads, because we've never done that. That's not our vibe. But it is really about community, about giving people a sense of joy, interest, experience, community that they are looking for, right? So what we did, and part of it came from our problem that we didn't have any money, right? In the old days, all the cricket guys, all the motorcycle guys, they'd go after cricket.
Right.
Chalo, we'll sponsor some big cricket tournament. We'll get some big film star to sit on our bike. Firstly, I loathe that. We said, that's not for us. Anyway, they can spend so much, we'll never be able to go there. So what we did was, we said, let's do real stuff that's super exciting. So we built ride events. We built community events. What was called the Rider Mania, now called Motorverse. We started that in Goa every year. We've had our 20th edition, I think, or whatever. And it's become huge. We get many tens of thousands of people now coming in and celebrating all things Enfield, motorcycling, all of that. We started in those days the Himalayan Odyssey and clubs and rides. And we've got, Himalayan Odyssey is our top flagship ride, but we've got tens of thousands of rides that we do at our dealerships, for example. Our dealerships also, when you go in, like you said, our vibe, and this was in 2010, by the way, so it took us 10 years to get there, but from when I started 25 years ago, we said that exactly what you're saying is that when a customer walks into a Royal Enfield store,
that experience.
They must melt. That
Right.
emotional thing must come. That oh
Wow.
wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in Delhi, of course, you have nice fancy stores, this
Yeah.
and that. But when you go to a smaller town in India,
Oh yeah.
the Royal Enfield store is the nicest store there, right? It's a really, really nice store.
It's a
So
wow factor.
kids walk in and they're like, oh my God, ek din maine Royal
Yeah,
Enfield kharidni hai.
Correct.
Right.
Becomes an aspiration.
What
Yeah.
you're saying. And so our store, our authenticity, because for example, all the people, like you see our new Bullet campaign, all these amazing people we have featured there. The chaps who do Kalari, the chaps who do Kushti, the
Oh, they're on
cavalry, the
Oh.
army. These are all real riders of Enfield, of Bullet.
Wow.
Not some people
Yeah.
not some, what do you call
Corporate
it?
honcho
Celebrities.
going to
Either-
work.
Yeah, or let's say, paid models or
Right.
or
Yeah.
athletes.
Those
who
are your
never-
those are your
We're
celebrities.
talking about
Right?
real
Those are your
people,
real riders.
people.
Yeah.
So we built an authentic, experience-led leisure brand, which
Very
people
interesting.
and people got it. People understood it, and people said, "Bloody hell,
Yeah.
I want this.
I
I
want that."
relate to
Yeah.
this." And by the way, we don't need too many people, right?
Yeah.
A
No, you
few
don't.
people need to say that.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah, because it's so authentic. Right?
So you actually shifted the conversation, right? You said it's not transactional. This is more of an experience-led relationship that you get into when you buy this bike. And you also then carved a niche for yourself in that segment, because you said, I can't compete on the top line with these people, right? So we
Yeah.
said we need to carve that niche within that segment, and that's what's going to give you your...
More than carve that niche, actually, it's not like that. We said we are going to take whatever time it takes to create and grow a leisure motorcycling segment in India. And even if it's slow, which it was, so from 2000 to 2010, in the year 2000, we were selling around not even 20,000, 15, 18,000 motorcycles a year.
Right.
By 2010, it had grown, but it was only 50,000 a year, right? So it had grown, but
But
very slowly,
not
right?
exponentially. Yeah.
But from that 2010,
To now.
50,000 a year to pre-COVID, I'll talk about,
Yeah.
2018,
Yeah.
we had 850,000
Oh.
from 50,000. So in
50,
those
wow.
8 years, it went up, or 9 years, it went up 17x,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
And we didn't, honestly, that wasn't even our ambition. That was much higher than what we'd ever expected. But all we wanted was to be sustainable, long-term focused. We're always, we're super ambitious, but only long-term ambitious. We're not short-term ambitious. I honestly don't know half the time what happened in the quarter,
Right.
monthly
You're only
sales.
looking at the
It's there somewhere, but
Yeah.
I'm like, dude,
that's your
that's not what I'm chasing, right?
Yeah.
big picture.
We're chasing the long term. And if you keep chasing the long
You'll
term
get there.
and you know what you need to do,
Mm.
otherwise, what a lot of companies I've seen end up into that whole quarterly
Yes.
game.
Yes.
And it
Is
just
that also
becomes
led by share market expectations?
investors,
and it's
analysts, all
exactly.
of that.
Yeah.
But people take that pressure and say,
Yeah. And fall
somehow
for
I have to do it. Then what do you do? Then you start doing silly things.
it. Right.
Mm.
You push sales.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
start
Short-term
discounting your
nudges.
brand, short-term
Correct.
stuff.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
we're not interested in all of that.
Yeah.
We're interested in the big game.
Yeah. That's actually a very important lesson for the
Yeah.
sector as well. Because it's invariably what ends up happening here as well. That you're, when you work with government systems, what are you trying to do? You're trying to show quick wins.
Yeah.
In education,
Mm.
you're talking about making an investment which
Yeah.
takes decades,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
not
yeah.
longer.
Yeah.
Right? Think about building a good education system means good teachers, good school, good policies, good curriculum, good assessments, good training.
Mm.
Think about that, creating that infrastructure. But we haven't been doing it. We haven't been doing it for the last 50 years because we say, no,
Yeah.
let's just put furniture in schools. Let's give them new uniforms.
Understand, yeah.
Let's give them a meal now. Let's.
But we want to see results the next year.
But you want to see,
Right,
you want to
like,
do,
what
because
it can't
Delta.
happen. You don't have the infra, you don't have the thinking, the system.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
I'm very fascinated with your journey, Siddharth, to come, to build this whole brand and, story of growth that you've done. I'm just very curious that you talked about, the morale was very low, the market wisdom was saying something else. As an individual, as a leader, when all eyes are on you, people are looking to you for, setting the vision and showing them the path. What are some of the things that you've consciously done, to get people to join in that mission? And even in hindsight, some reflections of things that have worked for you.
But first you have to be young and stupid. I think that's the best part because you don't know what you're getting into.
What risk you take.
Right? So that was
but you're not scared
that
either.
was the key factor in my point. Yeah, not scared, young and stupid.
Yeah.
you know,
If I go wrong, I go wrong.
yeah, it goes wrong, it goes wrong. It's, you know, you have that thought process. But after that, I think it was what I've come to a few conclusions is that one of them is that it's not, I mean, of course, you want smart people in your team and you want very smart people in your team and really good people in your team. But honestly, that's also slightly overrated. What you need is amazing people in your team who are all one team, as opposed to individuals who are acting on their own behalf. It's all about that. It's about having each other's back at every single point. And I can't emphasize that more because, you know, as soon as you get into a little bit of, you know, politicking within
Correct.
the senior group,
Starts falling apart.
you know, someone is trying to show something, someone is saying something but doing something else.
That's right.
It is the start of the end, right? And you have to be.
And how did you build that cohesion? I mean, like
Yeah.
that's not easy to do. It doesn't come just naturally.
Yeah.
But what did you do something? Do you do something consciously that allows that to happen?
I think, look, firstly, I found that, you know, some of the most tricky people to deal with are the super smart ones who are actually disruptive.
That's right. Yeah.
Eventually, even though at that point you think you can never do without them, once they're gone, suddenly a veil is lifted, you know,
Right. That's a good
everything
point.
is, it
That's a
improves.
great point. Yeah.
That's one. The other thing I would say is very strong common vision and extreme focus. I would say today Royal Enfield is much more about what we don't do,
Then
or
what you
we've
do.
decided not to do than what we do.
Right.
Because for me, 95% of things, except for this talk, are no.
Right.
I don't agree to anything. I just say no.
Right.
No, we've never acquired a company. We are just following
Yeah.
our path
What you believe in.
on a mission, right? We're on a mission to become a global brand, the first global premium consumer brand out of India, right? That's what we are on a mission to do, and to change the world of motorcycling, right? So it's a big aim, and it requires extreme focus.
Yeah.
And you can't just chalo, you know,
आज ये कर लेते हैं.
auto rickshaw भी बना लेते
Correct,
हैं.
correct.
थोड़ी opportunity है.
ये भी कर लेते
You
हैं.
can't do
Right,
ये भी वो भी.
Yeah.
Acquire a different brand, then your energy goes there, then you do this, then you do that. So you're flitting around.
Good
It's,
point.
I mean, for me, and again,
Yeah.
a lot of these things are, you know, different people operate different way. But
Yeah.
this is what I felt for me, for my organization.
But
was
this
the
again
best way.
is so applicable to us because, you know, sometimes you get led and driven by funders where they say, उत्तर प्रदेश आ जाओ, हमारे पास एक प्रोजेक्ट है, वहाँ कर लो. लद्दाख आ जाओ, वहाँ पे 2 स्कूल हैं, वहाँ आ जाओ. You know, so there's always these things that pull you, and it's exciting because in the social sector, money is hard to come by. Opportunities are aplenty, but they don't come together where a funder is willing to fund an opportunity.
Right.
So when those two come, then you're at sort of, you know, you're saying, chalo le lete hain. Before you know it, you've gone 10 years down and you're in 20 different places, but doing little itsy bitsy pieces of work.
Right.
So how do you stay focused, like you said, but also how do you not fall for temptation? Right? This is really falling for temptation. And I've seen so many people, us included, who have fallen for temptation over the years to say, chalo, let's go here. Chalo, the government looks very good. Or the funder's also there. Let's go there. Right? And we've done it. We've been now around for 10 years. And today we're actually saying, no, let's go back in. Let's hone back in because these are the 3 things we want to do. This is the place we want to do it in. And this is how we want to do it. And now close your eyes and get on to it. Right? So I think
Absolutely,
that's
yeah.
it's interesting that
So
you say that
one
this
of our
is,
biggest mantras is less is more. And that is actually held us in great stead.
yeah.
You know, so you don't have that much distraction. We do very little in Royal Enfield, right? Very little. But we have
But you do it really well.
We have
Laser
really
sharp
good teams.
focus,
So, like
yeah.
for example, we've just launched the new Himalayan motorcycle up in the Himalayas.
Yes.
We have put, I mean, our top teams, right, on that project are the kind of resources, the kind of time, the kind of validation, and the kind of design and engineering. I can tell you, no other company has done that level in this category of motorcycle. They have so many different projects. They have
Correct.
30 different projects, 50 different projects.
Correct.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
We
You're
say,
just
look,
on one.
and we don't spray and pray. Like, okay, let's come out with these 10 products. Hopefully something will
One
stick.
will stick.
Yeah.
Nothing. We are laser sharp, right? Ek cheez karo,
But do it so well.
brilliantly.
So well.
And of course, there's a chance it won't
Go wrong.
succeed.
Yeah.
But are you giving it everything?
You gave
right?
it your best.
You give it everything. And then if it doesn't succeed, fine. But then we'll keep at it, right?
Yeah.
It's not that we're going to give up on it.
Right. So where did we go wrong?
That's what
Can
happened
we
with the
learn from
original
that?
Himalayan. We had some issues initially, but we
Oh,
believed
so
in
this is Himalayan 2.0.
2.0. We believed in the idea of the Himalayan. Not the bike was amazing as well, and it turned out that people actually did love it, even though initially there was some issues
Yeah.
and people didn't love it as much. But
Yeah.
that's-
But again, it's very. I'm drawing a parallel from this because we are right now in the last 4 years building TEA 2.0. Because for the first 5 years, we came in with a vision to say we will do just this: public-private partnerships in education, and we will transform schools much like the charter school model of the West.
right.
Very focused. Right. The first 5 years, we failed. We didn't get it right. We got it right, but we got it at a scale which was so minute that it wasn't impacting
That
large
was
enough.
the Delhi
It was just
experiment
Delhi.
you're saying? Okay.
It was just
The
Delhi. It was
work,
just
yeah.
30 schools. It was just the MCD, and we said this is not big enough.
That's a start. I mean,
It was.
Yeah, and learning
But so
and
the
start,
2.0, much like your example of the Himalayan, is that we still believed in the idea. We still believe that public-private partnerships, which is basically government and the private sector coming together to fix the problem of government schooling.
Yeah.
Can we do it better? Can we do it
Absolutely.
better? So the pivot
Yeah.
happened at that time. We didn't lose focus of the problem.
Yeah.
In our case, that was the problem. It wasn't a product, but
Right,
it was
right,
a
right.
problem
Understood,
that we
yeah.
had to
So you're
solve.
solving
We
it.
just said the way we solve it needs to be a little more creative. So it's interesting that you're talking about a product and you know how we've also kind of used those principles of not moving away and believing in ourselves and saying that this is what we want to do. We've just the way we do it and the insights we've got from the failures we've had or the insights we've got from our clients, in this case the government and children and
Yeah.
parents and funders, has made us get to where we are today. And today we're at 100x the scale, impacting many more children,
Yeah.
working with many more governments,
And
but doing it differently.
And I have to say that's what attracted me to you guys in the first place.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of opportunities to fund, but in the same slight vein that I talked about earlier, which was that when I was thinking about what are the routes to success, and I said, look, I can't chase the Japanese guys; they'll
Eat you.
they'll decimate us.
Yeah.
They did already.
Right.
Our erstwhile company, whatever.
Right.
So, but the similar thought process was that because we've also been running schools, funding them ourselves for many years.
Correct.
For
Yes.
way before I started.
And
and all
Alwar,
of that, Alwar and
Rajasthan,
all of that.
yes.
And it's absolutely amazing what's happening there. But
Yes.
its impact is contained, right?
Correct.
It's,
But that was the
it's
objective.
a few thousand kids
Right.
every year, whatever,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
many thousands of kids. Brilliant.
Yeah.
But my question was,
Yeah.
how can you multiply that
This.
impact, like you're saying,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
What is it? Is that going to make a difference to those children? 100%.
Of course it will.
Is that going to make a real difference in the country?
Maybe not.
Not that much.
Yeah.
To those kids, yes.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
therefore, what
do you
I'm always
amplify that?
seeking for, what I'm
Yeah.
always looking for, what I was very interested in learning about the Education Alliance was I was always seeking for models that are catalytic in nature,
Mhm.
right? That are not linear in nature.
Mhm.
They're exponential in nature. And that's what I saw what you guys were trying to do, right? And that was your idea. Now,
was the idea.
again, if it succeeds,
Right.
how it succeeds, where it goes exactly,
Yeah.
Obviously you've had tremendous success.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that necessarily in the beginning, that
Yeah.
it's going to be going that way.
Yeah.
But at least the idea was that, look, this is not a linear thing. That means
Yeah.
for every rupee you spend,
Yeah.
you know,
Return.
it's
No,
linear.
absolutely.
It's potentially exponential in
It
that
is.
way.
It is. I mean, I'll give you an example, right? If let's say we got 1 crore of rupees from a funder, if I were to use the crore of rupees directly influencing children or directly educating children,
Yeah.
teaching children, like you are doing in Alwar, we would have probably been able to impact 1,000 kids, 2,000 kids, 5,000 kids repeatedly, and I put in that crore every year, right? If I take that crore now and put it into an organization like ours, which is what we're doing thanks to the support of the Aisha group, essentially is saying, I put in really high quality people. My team sitting here, my team that's out there in the field, out there in Punjab, out there in Madhya Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, who sits with the government, who themselves have a budget of 50,000 crores,
That's what.
90,000 crores, 100,000 crores. So I put in a team of which is costing us 1 crore a year, who's now leveraging a budget of 50,000 crores, working with the government to say,
making
how
it
do I
work
make this
better.
work? Exactly.
Making it work better.
How
Exactly.
to put it to the right causes? How do I make sure that it gets what it's supposed to get? Is it working? Is it not working? So the leverage factor in this case is huge. So it isn't linear, it's exponential. That said,
And it's catalytic that way, yeah.
hugely catalytic. That said, I think the big challenge is that to find a funder or find a partner who is patient. Because when you're trying to change a government and get them to become more efficient, it takes time. Right? And most often than not, what we've struggled with, and most people in the sector struggle with, is finding patient funders who say, I know this is going to take 10, 15 years. I'm here with you for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Because you can't do this in 3 years. Right? And if you try to do this in 3 years, I'll get it. It's back to your quarterly versus yearly versus your long-term example, right?
And that's part of our thinking philosophy. We also want to fund organizations, but also not program specific, right? Necessarily.
Right.
It could be, but that's not the starting point.
Right.
For some reason, funders, they want to fund very specific things, right? As opposed to saying, look, the organization or capability building or that unconventional thinking, that's where I also want to go, is that not where everyone else is going, right? I'm always looking for such ideas, right? Where there's real potential for exponential catalytic work where you put in a change and things open out, right?
I wanted to go back a little bit into your journey with Eicher Motors itself. Once things started taking off, and once you saw some kind of success, your journey post that, is there any specific challenge that was very, very difficult for you? And what were you thinking at that point of time?
There have been many different, they come from different angles, they come in different ways. It's never the one you expect, which is the challenge. And I think there was a point at which we realized that our product, and I'm talking about 10 years ago, is not as good as our consumers expect it to be, right? And it's failing them. I mean, these are mechanical products, they will have issues once in a while, but it's not up to their expectation, let's put it that way. And that was really a enormous moment for Govind, who's the CEO, and me. And we sat down and we said, guys, this is not about product A or product B, it's about the future of the company. And that's when we overhauled our entire product development process. So people immediately think, acha, your problem manufacturing ko improve karo.
Correct.
No,
It's not that.
it's a design quality first. Then it's your manufacturing. Then it's your quality control processes, all of that. In literally, I'm not kidding you, in the space of 5 years, we have become from a laggard in quality to world leading in quality in that space, because we have, and that's what we do. We have just put the entire organization focus, the might of our organization, little organization, but mighty little organization, behind one thing, and just, understood, kept at it. So that was one that opened us up. Then the second one was, for me personally, if you get into that, was that there came a point in time where I also understood that, look, as long as the company was a single product, we had Bullet Classic, similar product, let's say nearly single product, single geography, India, single location, Chennai was our plant and all that. It was, for me, it was personally easy to manage, right? As soon as we became multi-product lines, bigger teams, many geographies, we're in 70 countries now, large, when the number of moving pieces got too many, I got overwhelmed. I was like, dude,
This is not manageable.
I can't do this. I'm not, and therefore I discovered I'm not the right manager for this. I thought it's, because I see other people doing it in other places. I'm like, okay, but I can't do it.
Right.
That's when I also realized that, look, I should do where I can add value,
Right.
which is what I do now. And I spend a lot of time on the areas that I can add value in. And Govind runs the show, right? He runs the show because he's good at it. He's able to put these pieces together.
Yeah.
work with different teams, get things done, move things forward, juggle all the stuff that a CEO of a big organization has to do. He knows how to do it. But, I found myself wanting at that point. And then I found that I was becoming the limiting factor. But also, I was then taking on the stress, right? Because it's very stressful, yeah, if you've got so many things to do and you're not able to do them
Of course.
fully. So that's the self-realization part, right? I said, let somebody else run it. And now I'm delighted because I work with
It's a
our
great combination
product
of
strategy
people.
chaps, I work with our industrial design chaps, I work with our brand chaps.
Yeah.
And Govind and I gel really well together. So he, on the business model and all of that. So, but that whole, running a company for me was very difficult. And if I'd continued as CEO, I don't think we would have been where we are.
So that's also very interesting you say that, right? Because I think somebody asked you about your leadership style and you don't necessarily go to an office every day. You're not sitting behind a desk every day. You're working out of different parts of the world, yet you're extremely effective. And what it looks like what you ended up doing is you said, okay, here's what I'm good at, and here's where I think I'm going to do good for the company, and I'll limit my involvement to that. But I'll make sure that all the other pieces are also well sorted. And I think for the social sector, again, the takeaway here for me and others who may be listening is that, we sometimes become very founder-led. We become CEO driven, and it's the CEO's idea and the founder's idea, and that's it. And we don't build a second line of leadership. We don't build a third line of leadership. We don't give enough autonomy and freedom to say, what are you doing in Punjab? Great. You want to do it? Go ahead. Maybe doing something entirely different in Tamil Nadu. Solving the same problem, but very differently, right? But give that freedom and autonomy. And the person sitting at top is making sure that they're so micromanaging every program. And I've seen many organizations who do this and they fall apart. And it's interesting if one can take so we're consciously at TA also trying to do.
But it's time and place, right? When
Of course. The early days of ours, it was just me.
Exactly.
There were 6 people, 1 geography. I took all the decisions. Today, I think I take less than 10% of those decisions in the organization and probably focus only on the areas where how can I empower Kanchan, how can I empower Dhruv, how can I empower Adi and others, and make sure you guys are effective in the work you do.
The same thing. For me, 15, 18 years, I was bang on at it daily, in there, going factory,
literally
field,
everything.
People, all,
Yeah.
just
Because you needed to.
in the mix all the time, just getting the pulse, taking the decisions, moving things forward. In any aspect of the business, if I'm the thought leader still, then we have a problem. Because I also realize I'm not a specialist in anything, right?
Right.
I was generally making
Good at everything.
happen.
But
Design theek hai, brand theek hai.
Very true.
Managing everything. But if I'm the thought leader in the company on any of these areas, we're screwed.
Yeah.
So, therefore, my filter for having the right people in the company was, can they be the thought leaders? And over time, I say, oh, wow.
Right.
Now I know how this should be done.
Right.
And
so they're influencing
then
your thinking.
I can still work with them.
Sure.
Because I get the business angle to it.
Correct.
I get the other
The
angle.
idea is
so I can
coming
push
from
them
somewhere
in different
else.
ways.
Yeah.
But they're running the core idea, like on all these areas. So that redundancy or becoming redundant, let's say in that way, so was great because then it also gave me,
a little bit of.
and then you build the organization like that. Right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think one step back, like just listening to your reflections, is that you've been at this for 20 odd years now. What makes you wake up every day and be like, I'm going to go all out, or I'm going to still give this everything I've got, because you feel like you've settled somewhere, right? You just said you turned 50, so I mean, there's got to be other moving priorities.
what interests me, what wakes me up in the organization keeps evolving, because you got to have new goals, right? I mean, at one point it was to stay alive. That woke me up. But that desire, I mean, where we were till where we are now, we are suddenly seeing that, guys, we could actually
make
doing
this
something
happen.
that are so special, so different, because of focus element, because of all the other things that we bring in. We're a also, what's very important in our company is that we're not an engineering-led company entirely. Right? We have very cross-functional people, non-engineers, designers, riders, have equal say as engineers in our company, and therefore it's a good mix. So we're seeing a lot of benefit in that, and we're seeing that actually we can pull off something which the world has not seen before, right? So we're now, that's what keeps me interested, excited to be able to pull something like that off. Yeah.
And also the fact that you said, which is very interesting, that it's the long term. So every time I speak to people in my company, I say, guys, we're running a marathon, not a sprint. And this is about very similar, right? It's long term. It's going to take 10, 15 years. We're trying to change the landscape of education in India. We're trying to change systems. We're trying to build capacities of government systems. It's not going to happen overnight. So stay in it in the long haul. And I think in a lot of the programming and the type of work we do, what excites us is that we're not product led. We're not product led. We actually don't have, we do teacher training. We do leadership training. We build curriculum. We don't. I'd like to believe we solve problems. Right? And we do it collaboratively. So let's go in, talk to our client and say, what's the problem? Okay, problem X. Very different to your problem, which is problem Y. Now, you haven't been able to solve it in the last 50 years. Let's see if we can look at solving this problem together. Let's see if we can do it ourselves, or do we need to bring in 2 other experts who can help us do this? And then let's design it, let's plan it, and let's stay with you through the execution. That's the model we work in, right? So it's, again, I'm drawing a parallel here with you, which is like saying that we're looking at communities, we're looking at engagement, we're looking at building families that will stay with us. We're looking at building experiences, we're looking at the environment and so on and so forth, right? So it's kind of similar in a way that I'm not saying that I just go and do X and the world will become better, but I have to do a multitude of things.
Yeah, I mean, building on what you said, right, that there are, you're chasing a much larger ambition, right? You're not looking at short-term goals. And then you've got people from such diverse mindsets, backgrounds, experiences coming together, and everybody comes with a very different thought process, right? How do you create a shared vision, right? That everybody stays on track.
Yeah, you were asking that as well.
Conscious practices, reflections, so that everybody is aligned on that one task.
What happened a few years ago when Govind came in, he said, Royal Enfield needs to rebalance. He said, we're going really well. We're growing, we're making good money. What's the problem?
Correct.
Right?
You don't need to do anything different.
Everything's fine. But we could sense that there was something a bit off. Right? And so we came up with this very ground up idea. Means it was literally coming from the people that we want to rebalance. And what does that mean? For us was that most companies by default in this general capitalist world, they're being told by their investors, by their colleagues, by their peers, that it's all about just growth, making more money, making more money, growth. Right?
Correct.
That's the narrative, right?
That's right.
And what we realize is that, of course, that's one of the objectives of a company, to be healthy and to grow and profitable.
Yeah.
But it's not the only one.
Yeah.
So we said there are social objectives, we have environmental objectives, we have, which are as important as our commercial objectives, right? So we said, let's understand, and from our teams, let's understand what they want, what will make them happy, about where should Royal Enfield go in all these areas. So that became one part of it. The other part became even the balancing of profit versus growth was a important thing, because at some point we'd become so profitable that those benchmarks, which are actually better than the best automobile company in the world, we were making bottom line of 30+%, 33% at one point. But that was unnatural, right? But that was the benchmark we'd got, right? So then we said, no, it's not about that. We want to be, we rebalance our idea that we want to be accessible as well. We want to grow. We want people to experience our motorcycle, not become just premium, right?
Correct.
That was a balance. Then there was a rebalance about our, on how we look at electric vehicles. And because I don't equate sustainability only with electric.
Sure.
So there's a much wider responsibility part, which is, what we feel a responsible thing. That's, but EV also. So how do we balance our internal combustion? So we came up with this whole rebalance thought process strategy, which really energized the company, because everyone was like, yes, that's,
and it came from them.
It came from people. It got developed. People commented on it. People said, yes, no, this, that, what about this, what about that? And it just emerged, dude. And we were like, there, okay, it's come up. And then we made a name, Rebalance, because it,
makes sense.
It just worked, because that's what it was about. So sometimes these things just emerge, you don't have to
But all about listening to the people in your
it
organization.
is. It's really about that
Getting
because
ideas.
there's so
Yeah.
much. Look, in the end, there's so much capability. There's so much thought, and but also in a lot of organizations, so much disenfranchisement, right? Because everyone says, "Yeah, bhai, log to koi sunte
Sunta
nahi
nahi
hai."
Ah, बिल्कुल.
You can say anything, nobody listens. So let's
They're
just, we'll
just
just
saying it for the
I've
sake
got
of
my job. I'll just do whatever the hell they tell me to.
Disengage.
बिल्कुल.
I'll just continue, and then I'll go back home and I'll forget, right?
Correct.
But if people really think that, and not really think, if the people are really being heard,
Yeah.
if
And
people
They
are,
invest into the idea.
Yeah.
everyone is
Buy it.
totally invested,
Yeah.
dude. They're so invested. Yeah.
For us, I think we are very people driven. Like our people, in a way, are our product. If you think back to some of the high performing teams that you've worked with, what are the characteristics of those teams? Also, in terms as a predictor for you, also that this is going to be a high performing team, or then looking back
Yeah.
and saying, "Okay, oh, these are the few things that happened that made that team."
So, like I
high
said,
performing.
honestly, it's not, each individual is not, necessarily the
But the unit together.
best, but it's how the unit works. And for me, that boils down to maybe slightly different wording of what I talked about earlier, is a single point: no ego. You cannot have an ego when you walk in. You cannot say, "This is my idea." If somebody says, "You know what, I'm not sure this is the right thing to do," you can't take it bloody personally. So many people, I mean, I don't know why people take it personally. It's not,
Get offensive.
if I tell you, buddy,
Yeah,
like
this is-
what you're doing in education lines, it's not about you. It's about something else. Or you tell
Absolutely.
me about something.
Absolutely.
It's not about me.
Yeah.
But people take it personally.
They do take
so
it personally. Yeah.
what I always work on, and I'm so strong on that with anybody I work with closely, is communication and no ego, right? That's what it's all about. Something which a lot of people miss out on, which is this ego thing, and
Yeah.
honestly, we also allow people, we get a bit fussy around people, this guy's sensitive, you shouldn't say something, ye nahi karo, wo nahi karo. When you build that culture, then these people get this big ego ki ji, everything I do is nice, everything I do is smart,
True.
everything I do is good.
True.
So I hope you keep him in his place. That was the whole point.
Trust me, they do. So I think we should wrap up this conversation. Siddharth, thank you so much for your time. But I want to, in closing, actually, I want to share a little bit about our journey with you as a funder. In this conversation has brought a lot of things and made me realize how similar we are as organizations. While being in the social sector and you being in the corporate world, the way you've built your team, the way you've faced challenges, the way you have invested in people, and the way you have focused, I think makes us believe that we're doing the right things. Gives me a lot of confidence. Of course, we're a fraction of what the Aisha Motor Group is, but we hope to bring about massive change. Just like you are with your customers and your clients, we hope to do that with children in India. We hope to do that across this country. So first and foremost, I want to thank you for investing in us and putting your faith in us and allowing us to, giving us that freedom and autonomy. We talk about it all the time in the organization, that our funder gives us freedom and autonomy to do the things that we believe will make us successful. And by that, I mean, make us successful in educating children in India. And if we didn't have funders like you, I don't think we'll be able to do it. And in closing, I hope that the Aisha Group continues to support us and continues to hold our hand as we take on this massive journey of solving the education crisis in India. So thank you again.
No, I want to thank you guys. I think it's been an amazing journey for us as well over the last many years to work with such an amazing team that's got a great vision, and what you're trying to achieve is by no chance any small feat. It's changing the landscape of education in India, which is a holy grail subject. I mean, it's something which is which can change the entire country. So I think what you're trying to do is absolutely immense. It's amazing for us to be able to play a part in that and to be able to work with, you guys on this. And that's what, things like this is what keeps us motivated also, it's like I said, it's not just business for us, it's the holistic view. Yeah, so it's, it's great to be supporting an organization like you because it gives us also a lot of enjoyment and a lot of hope that, what we do and the work that we do and, what we earn, part of that can go into doing something really amazing as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Such a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.